President Xi Jinping hails the work of Chief Executive John Lee. The first day that Macau removes key border restrictions. Foreign Minister Wang Yi states China's position in phone call with Anthony Blinken. Good evening and welcome to TVB News. President Xi Jinping met with Chief Executive John Lee this afternoon, who is on his first duty visit to Beijing as the city's leader. Xi said the central government fully appreciates Lee's work and how the CE has hailed a new atmosphere to the city being ruled by patriots. Jackie Lin with more.
In his maiden duty visit to Beijing after taking office as Hong Kong's chief executive in July, John Lee was received by President Xi Jinping on Yingtai Island in Zhongnanhai. Also in attendance were Vice Premier Han Zheng, who is responsible for Hong Kong and Macau affairs, as well as Ding Xuexiang, who is expected to succeed Han in the role. In the meeting, too, were Director of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office, Xia Baolong, and Director of Beijing's Liaison Office in Hong Kong, Luo Huining. Heaping praise on Lee, President Xi said the CE has led his administration with courage in shouldering responsibilities and pragmatism in making commitments. Xi also lauded Lee's determination to safeguard national security, reinvigorate the economy, and proactively listen to the public's concerns. And that has set a fresh atmosphere for the city being ruled by patriots. With Hong Kong on the right path under the one country, two systems principle, Xi said Beijing fully recognizes Lee and the administration's work. In response, the chief executive thanked Xi for his care and support, as well as personal teaching and motivation. Lee said different sectors in Hong Kong, as well as the international community, have shown confidence and support for the one country, two systems principle. Before his trip to Beijing, Lee told the press he will bring Hong Kongers' wishes of border reopening with the mainland to state leaders in the duty visit. Lee will return to Hong Kong on Saturday afternoon. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Starting today, Macau has relaxed some major travel restrictions in a move the tourism sector thinks is close to a full reopening of the borders. But some are worried the reopening will burden the already stretched medical system. Macau authorities estimate 1 in 6 people in the enclave is infected and expects the pandemic will peak in the next few days.
At the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge this morning, many were getting ready to take the Golden Bus to travel to Macau. To pass the border, travelers only need to have a negative PCR test valid within 72 hours. That was different from what the Macau authorities initially announced, a PCR test result valid within 48 hours. This Hong Kong resident was unaware of the change and had to go home. On Thursday, the Macau government announced it would scrap the Red Health Code and the PCR test done at the border upon arrival for travelers. Once they show proof of a negative PCR test result valid within 72 hours, they will be given an amber code. But they must do daily RATs for the next 5 days and upload them to the health code system. So far, there are no clear rules set out by the authorities on whether amber code holders are allowed to enter restaurants, entertainment venues, or take public transport. Tickets for the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge shuttle bus over the next 2 days are sold out. Turbojet said it is prepared to resume services and will cope with the possible demands for the reopening, pending instructions from the authorities. Jones Chong, CEO of an entertainment group in Macau, said the events business in the enclave has almost stopped during the past few years, but he's happy to be seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Other franchise operators expect tourists to return and that business can reach 80% of pre-pandemic levels. Meanwhile, on the medical front, a viewer said many residents have tested positive for COVID, and she doubts if this is the right time to bring in more travelers. Her entire family has been infected, and she is particularly concerned about her 80-year-old mother, who has a fever. She noted they have failed to get medication or treatment, adding the medical system has collapsed with emergency services, saying they are very short-staffed.
Hong Kong reported more than 20,000 COVID cases, the highest daily tally in 9 months. Among the 20,252 COVID cases, over 900 cases were imported. 92 residents and 14 staff members from 67 care homes for the elderly and disabled tested positive. 439 cases were reported from over 200 schools. 3 schools had to suspend classes for 5 days due to cases stemming from group gatherings. 1 more XBB strain COVID case and BQ.1.1 strain case were found in the city. 46 more patients died, making the total COVID fatalities in the 5th wave to 11,160. The government aims to attract at least 35,000 overseas talents each year in the next 3 years. Starting next Wednesday, a new online platform will be open for talents to apply from around the globe. Payment and visa procedures will be done through the platform. Authorities stress vetting will be completed within 4 weeks after necessary documents have been submitted. An office dedicated to attract global businesses has also been set up and aims to grab at least 1,130 firms to Hong Kong within the next 3 years. With Christmas approaching, many people have decided to travel overseas for the holidays, taking advantage of not only Christmas but the New Year break too.
Anxious and happy at the same time, right? Mixed feeling, that's good. Yeah, it's great, excited I would say.
At the airport check-in counters, people queued for both short and long-haul flights. A popular destination is Japan for White Christmas and other Southeast Asian countries. And with many people traveling now, checking in 3 hours earlier is recommended. Tomorrow will be Christmas Eve and many people are expected to go out and celebrate. Police are expecting large crowds in the Lan Kwai Fong and Tsim Sha Tsui over the Christmas holidays. There will be road closures in various districts from Saturday afternoon.
Christmas holidays are just around the corner. And with the loosening of anti-COVID measures, the police are expecting many people in areas around Lan Kwai Fong and Tsim Sha Tsui. There will be 2 phases of road closure in the Lan Kwai Fong area from 2 p.m. on Saturday until 5 a.m. on Sunday. Wyndham Street, Wellington Street and Wing Wah Lane will be closed. Officers said they will expand the closed areas if necessary. The road closures in the Kowloon district will be smaller than in previous years. From 7 p.m. on Saturday onwards, Museum Road at the West Kowloon Cultural District, as well as Nathan Road and Canton Road in Tsim Sha Tsui will be closed. The Star Ferry Pier and Kowloon Park Drive will close 30 minutes later.
After our risk assessments, police will adopt appropriate and relative crowd management measures, including road closures, and with a view to ensure the public can enjoy the festive season in a safe and orderly manner. We will deploy a sufficient manpower to handle any incidents.
When asked about the stampede in South Korea during Halloween, police said the accident is a reminder to be prepared for all situations.
The police advised residents to take public transport during the Christmas holidays. They should also follow anti-COVID measures, such as keeping an appropriate social distance and wearing masks. Mimosa 9, TVB News.
In a telephone conversation between the 2 top diplomats, Foreign Minister Wang Yi told U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken that the United States should not continue the old routine of unilateral bullying and should stop suppressing China's development. Wang said last month's meeting between President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Joe Biden at the G20 summit in Bali was a good sign of dialogue. But Wang underscored how the U.S. should not constantly challenge China's red line in a salami-slicing way with a series of small actions to suppress China. Wang stressed the 2 sides should focus on translating the Bali consensus of the 2 leaders into practical policies. A statement from the U.S. Department of State noted Blinken said there's a need to manage the China-U.S. relationship responsibly while maintaining a channel of communication. Still to come on tonight's news. Ukraine set to receive more military aid from the U.S. after Zelensky's visiting Washington. Arctic weather hits the U.S. ahead of Christmas holidays. Rail workers in France go on strike. Welcome back to TVB News. Shortly after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky addressed a joint meeting of the U.S. Congress, the Senate passed a $1.7 trillion spending bill, which covers a large round of aid to support Ukraine's war against Russia. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin said Russia wants an end to the war in Ukraine. Tracy Furness has more.
The US is expected to provide a new $1.8 billion military aid package for Ukraine, which includes supplies of the Patriot air defense systems, the most powerful of such weapons to be delivered to the country to date. Ukraine also stands to receive an additional $44 billion in aid as part of the government's massive spending bill. Russian President Vladimir Putin responded by saying the Patriot was a rather old system and that it doesn't work as well as Russia's S-300 system. Putin also said Russia wants to end the war in Ukraine and all armed conflicts end with diplomatic negotiations. Japanese media reported that North Korea had shipped munitions, including artillery shells, to Russia via train through their border last month, and that additional shipments were expected in the coming weeks. The White House said the North had completed an initial arms delivery to a private Russian military company, the Wagner Group, to help bolster Russian forces in Ukraine. North Korea's foreign ministry denied the reports that it supplied munitions to Russia, calling it groundless. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met his Polish counterpart, Andrzej Duda, Thursday during his trip home from his visit to the United States. Zelensky said on the Telegram messaging app later that they summed up the year, which brought historic challenges due to a full-scale war. The two also discussed plans for the future. Zelensky's visit to the US brought some clarity to how to end the war. Biden endorsed his 10-point peace plan, which calls for the complete withdrawal of Russian troops from Ukrainian territory and the creation of a special tribunal to prosecute Russian war crimes, conditions that Russia has rejected. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Nancy Pelosi held her last press conference as Speaker of the House of Representatives. She was the first woman elected House Speaker and has served in that position under 3 presidents.
This, I thought last week might have been, but this is my final weekly press conference, and some of you have been covering Congress for a long time. Others are new. All of you are guardians of democracy. You've heard me say again and again, if there were one freedom in the First Amendment, the freedom of the press, that would be the one that protects and defends all the other freedoms.
Democrat Pelosi is stepping down from the position as Republicans will retake control of the House on January the 3rd. Controversially, Pelosi made a 2-day visit to Taiwan in August with 5 other Democrats as part of a tour of Asia. Beijing objected and responded by holding military drills on the Taiwan Strait. U.S. President Biden discouraged the visit but did not prevent it. Afterwards, the White House affirmed her right to visit Taiwan. The House January 6th Committee's final report, released on Thursday, suggested that former U.S. President Donald Trump should be barred from holding office again. The report asserts that Donald Trump criminally engaged in a multi-part conspiracy to overturn the lawful results of the 2020 presidential election and failed to act to stop his supporters from attacking the Capitol. It concludes an extraordinary 18-month investigation. The 814-page report comes after the panel interviewed more than 1,000 witnesses and held 10 hearings. The witnesses range from Trump's closest aides to law enforcement to rioters. The committee suggests that Trump should be barred from future office, noting that the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution holds that anyone who has taken an oath to uphold the Constitution can be prevented from holding office for engaging in insurrection or rebellion. Across the U.S., thousands of flights were cancelled and homeless shelters were overflowing as a powerful Arctic winter storm threatens the holiday plans of millions. Weather forecasters warn of an impending bomb cyclone that could make conditions even worse before Christmas. This report from NBC News.
Tonight, a withering white Christmas courtesy of a monster winter storm, delivering brutal winds and dangerous flash freezes during the heart of the holiday season.
I mean, it's cold, but when it's negative 20, it's just another level.
It sucks. I hate it.
The system forecast to transform into a bomb cyclone overnight. Coast to coast, 105 million people, nearly a third of the U.S. population, are under winter weather alerts, with blizzard warnings now in 10 states, states of emergency declared in 6.
I encourage everyone, please heed the local warning. It's not like a snow day, when you're a kid. This is serious stuff.
But folks, if we don't take it seriously, we will lose loved ones.
Winds expected to approach 100 miles per hour, knocking out power in parts of Portland, Oregon. Outages stacking up from the west coast to the plains and the south. This as a bone-chilling Arctic blast sends temperatures plummeting. In Cheyenne, Wyoming, dropping from 42 degrees to 2 in 1 hour.
This is an absolute whiteout.
Elsewhere, roads are the big concern. In South Dakota, 100 drivers rescued and taken to shelter near Rapid City. In Wisconsin, drivers being urged not to travel tomorrow. NBC's Shaq Brewster is in Michigan.
Conditions on the road continue to get more treacherous into the evening, and it's not just the snow and wind leading to low visibility, but those plunging temperatures are creating conditions for dangerous black ice.
With flurries falling in Chicago, final holiday grocery runs merge with last-minute prep.
Snow we're used to. It's the temperature dropping so fast and the ice, and then black ice and all that. That I don't want to come out in.
You're not messing with that?
Not at all.
The next chapter in this Arctic system's harrowing holiday saga. Maggie Vespa, NBC News, Chicago.
According to a report from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the U.S.'s life expectancy has hit its lowest level since 1996. Life expectancy at birth for the U.S. population decreased from 77 in 2020 to 76.4 years in 2021. That's a decline for the second consecutive year. Heart disease remained the leading cause of death in the United States last year. This was followed by cancer and COVID-19. In 2021, nearly 107,000 Americans died of drug overdose, an increase of nearly 16% over 2020. Drug overdose deaths have risen fivefold over the past 2 decades in the country. In France, rail workers are going ahead with a planned Christmas weekend strike, demanding better conditions and pay amid soaring inflation, partly triggered by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Daniel Rao tells us more.
Train guards at France's state-owned railway operator SNCF decided to proceed with strikes planned for the Christmas and New Year weekends. As a result, the company announced that 1 out of 3 high-speed trains in France will be cancelled on Friday. About 40% of high-speed trains will be suspended on Saturday and Sunday, and intercity trains and metro lines will also be affected. SNCF management had earlier offered to give train guards a €600 bonus to recognise the special nature of their work. That's in addition to a general 5.9% salary increase across the company. But the offer was not accepted. A previous SNCF strike in early December over wages and working conditions amid soaring inflation sparked in part by Russia's invasion of Ukraine saw 60% of trains across France cancelled. About 200,000 people are set to be affected by the Christmas weekend rail strikes. However, SNCF said the strikes will have minimal impact on international travel to and from France. The company said traffic on the intercity networks between France and Germany is expected to remain the same. It added the Eurostar train, which connects Paris to London, should also run normally, with the exception of December 26th due to a UK train strike. SNCF added that 3 out of 4 trains bound for Switzerland and 2 out of 3 trains towards Italy will run. Daniel, TVB News.
Christmas is less than 2 days away. In Slovenia, actors and musicians are celebrating Christmas by recreating the story of the birth of Jesus Christ in the underground Postona cave. Visitors watch the story unfold in 16 scenes strung along 5 kilometers of the underground cave in Slovenia's southwest. Around 100 local actors put on the show, which is illuminated by more than 2,000 colored lights. The organizer is hoping to get the performance inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List. That's the news. Thanks for watching.